All right, folks, listen up. You remember that thing called privacy? That little idea? We used to have that back in like the 1970s and 80s, right? It was just this little idea, the government shouldn't know what brand of toothpaste you're using, how many calories you burn on a treadmill, or whether you clicked on that mildly offensive, slightly naughty meme at 2 a.m. Well, apparently privacy is about to be an endangered species, or maybe it's already extinct. Palantir Technologies, the CIA's favorite data vacuum cleaner, has a new starring role in what might be the largest government data sharing initiative in U.S. history. And guess what? It's all wrapped up in red, white, and blue, and maybe a little MAGA red, too. According to Newsweek, Palantir is building what amounts to a federal fusion center on steroids. Data from every nook and cranny of the government, law enforcement, financial records, maybe even your Spotify playlist. You've been listening to that Kanye West song, I know you have. It's being centralized and cross-referenced, all thanks to a Trump executive order from March. Now Palantir says, relax, we don't unlawfully surveil Americans, which is like your ex saying, I didn't technically cheat when I met up with that girl that I was liking her pics on Instagram. Very comforting, right? So today we're going to dive into this dystopian tech cocktail with a man who's made it his mission to call out tyranny in his tuxedo, Jason Bassler, a journalist from the Free Thought Project. Jason, welcome to the show. It's the libertarian tuxedo.
Indeed. Yeah, I got to represent my Maj Black Guns Matter shirt here because you mentioned it now. But thanks so much for having me on, man. I was hoping to finally be on your show, and I guess today is the day. So
today's the day. I'm glad we can make it work. And thanks so much for being so generous with your time. So let's jump in. What's your take on Palantir's deepening relationship with the federal government, especially under an administration that claims to be fighting the deep state?
Oh boy. Well, it's certainly complex here, right? Because let's see, the right is kind of calling it fake news. They're not even sure if it's happening. They're questioning the New York Times and what's going on there. And, to a certain extent, I don't blame them. New York Times can't be trusted. But at the same time, us, here in the middle, the libertarians, the anarchists, the privacy, people who are concerned with privacy, we've been saying this the whole time, even before Trump was elected. So, it's definitely concerning, in my opinion. As you said in the intro there, it's just deepening the ties. It seems like this is, the U.S. government's new favorite military-industrial complex contractor of choice. And in March, as you mentioned, Trump signed that EO directing federal agencies to share this data across departments. And I think everybody saw the headline, that was going around. It was 113 million apparently since Trump has taken office that he so far has gone to Palantir. So I think that's a big part of it. That's worrisome as well. People are kind of worried about this cronyism, this collusion under kind of the table, what's going on between Trump and the Palantir co-founder, Peter Thiel. And I guess my contribution, more or less, was basically saying, like, this is a database that isn't like any others, right? Because it's going to be combining our tax filings, our student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, all of our medical claims and immigration status into kind of one big centralized database. And I've had a tweet go recently kind of viral because apparently nobody pointed it out, that this is going to be just one centralized personal info database that's going to be used across various federal agencies.
I've seen some pushback from this, but do you think that Trump voters actually realize the implications of this? Or do you think that they're more, as long as it targets the bad guys, it's fine kind of thing?
I think it has been kind of framed under like an immigration issue, a voter issue, trying to get rid of the voter fraud stuff. And so far, what I can tell from the people pushing back in my tweets, it is, very much aligned with that. Like, no, we do need more efficiency. This is just part of Doge's work. So it does seem like they're a bit kind of blind, especially when you start looking into Palantir's, how it was formed, its contracts with the CIA, who this Peter Thiel character is, the CEO, Alex Karp, all these kind of moving factors that point to a larger picture of it being somewhat ominous.
Now, Palantir, they've fired back at the criticisms after the New York Times article. They say that we don't unlawfully surveil Americans. They say that the Foundry system that they're using has granular security. What do you make of their PR push?
I think Spike Cohen recently kind of pointed out that, like, the Patriot Act was supposed to be spying on terrorists, right? But then, we learned from Edward Snowden that it was actually to spy on you. So I think this is more or less kind of the Patriot Act on steroids. I think it's also important, though, to point out that this is something that's been going on for a while. Obama, Biden, and Trump all signed contracts with Palantir. Again, I think it's just that cozy connection that we were seeing with Peter Thiel and Trump that's kind of raising a lot of the red flags. And obviously, this is kind of something that's transcending, various agencies within the government. I think it's something like 32 different agencies have different contracts with Palantir. And so it's, the intelligence agencies, now the immigration enforcers, even the police, are doing some of the predictive policing stuff with Palantir. Of course, they're always going to tell us those types of things, like, yeah, of course, we're not going to use it. We'll never use it for anything nefarious. But history shows that's not really reality.
Now, in regards to the pushback that Palantir is making, talking about efficiency, and Palantir's defenders, they're saying that there is a lot of inefficiency in government, and that with this data sharing program, that government can accomplish its proper lawful duties in an efficient manner rather than the haphazard slapdash manner in which they're operating now. Efficiency, part of the Department of Government Efficiency, an important part of streamlining the roles of government. So what would you say to respond to someone who says this isn't tyranny, this is efficiency?
I mean, I would say if Doge was really looking for some type of efficiency, they'd probably start with the military industrial complex, right? Like they'd probably start with cutting some of these drug war failed policies that have ended up costing American people, their lives in many cases. So yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to point out, like, imagine if this was something that was going on underneath Biden or even Kamala, people would be losing their minds, right? Like we're seeing a lot of this same overlap from what was, the World Economic Forum, a lot of their interests now being kind of pushed and implemented through Palantir and some of these various agencies. So it is concerning, man. I think that, again, there's really no way to paint this as being like a bright, sunny picture, because it seems like this is all going to eventually lead to even something probably a little bit deeper that we've all been warning about in the anarchist community for a while now, which is potentially even towards digital IDs. And we've been talking about this, not just the anarchists, for a
social
long
credit
time.
scores, potentially.
Right, sure. The CBDCs, the stable coins, all that stuff. So it's just one more step in that direction, having a centralized bureaucracy kind of.
The left used to be very anti-surveillance until it started targeting their enemies. Do you think that this is something that you can get maybe left and right to agree on, or do you think this just gets bogged down in the typical partisanship?
It could be something that people agree on. I don't know. I've actually seen the left calling for AI regulation now, which seems interesting. It seems like all of a sudden that's become more of a focal point within the last couple of days, which kind of leads to the question, like, well, okay, who's going to regulate this, right? Like the corporations, the governments, they're all in bed together, they're all in cahoots. So, I mean, what's regulation really going to do to stop at least this type of inner infrastructure creation of data within, the government? So I would like to hope so, Austin. We've always been kind of optimistic in that sense at the Free Thought Project, and always tried to focus on what we can do to kind of transcend our partisan mentality and try to move the ball forward as far as less government and more freedom in our lives.
A clip went viral. I'm not sure how long ago it was from, where Alex Karp was in an interview, the CEO of Palantir, discussing how effective their surveillance tools were. He said specifically that it was extremely successful at stopping the rise of the far right in Europe, which I find to be fascinating, because I frequently have been referred to as far right. Whenever any leftist journal would happen to comment on any of my activities, I'm always labeled far right, far right, far right. And if you're a leftist and you hear Alex Karp saying something like that, you probably think, oh yeah, well, they're probably stopping Nazis. When I think far right, I think they're talking about me, a constitutional libertarian, or maybe people like you at the Free Thought Project. So do you have any more insight on what he was talking about there? Because I've actually been tweeting back at like the co-founders of Palantir, who have been talking about responding to some of the criticisms that have been out there. And I'm saying, what did Alex Karp mean by this when he said he stopped the rise of the far right in Europe? Does that mean he stopped people like us from winning elections in Europe? If so, then we need to shut that institution down immediately. Do you have any more insight on something like that? Or what do you think that meant, if not?
That's a story that just popped up recently, and I didn't really keep my finger on the pulse of that one. But I think these people want to take credit in any way that they can. I think it's just the flavor of the day, whatever ideology happens to be vilified at that moment. How can they move the ball forward as far as the good PR, the good public light for their company, And Alex Karp is kind of an odd duck, He's been a vocal advocate for the collaboration of Silicon Valley and the U.S. government, particularly in like national security and defense. And he described himself once as a progressive and a socialist, which is kind of strange because he even more recently criticized like the woke agendas and the left agendas and stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of get in where you fit in. Like it's just kind of it's not really solid in their principles or foundation, I think, as far as what they really stand for. Although he has condemned the anti-Israel protests on the university campuses, and he actually at one point suggested that protesters participate in an exchange program in North Korea to gain perspective, of course. But yeah, so I don't know, man. There's not a lot. He seems like he's pretty. He's not big in the public light, so it's hard to really know a lot about him from what I've gathered. And I think he tries to keep it that way, especially compared to Peter Thiel and his reputation.
Yeah. So what's your solution, right? Is it legislation, tech decentralization? Do you think there should be regulations? Tinfoil hats? What do we need here, Jason?
Well, I was just at the Bitcoin conference last week, and geez, Austin, let me tell you, man, it blew my mind. I know how long you've been doing this, and I've been doing this for a while as well. And to see Bitcoin come from where it's at to this kind of polished event, 30,000 people, I don't know how many millions of dollars they spent on it. But unfortunately, and here's me putting on my tinfoil hat to a certain extent, Bitcoin's been co-opted. It's slow, outdated tech. It's not privacy oriented. So we actually just did a podcast on our podcast, the Free Thought Project podcast, with the guys from Zano, which is a new privacy coin. It's looking very promising. It's got a lot of great security features. It's going up in value. It continues to go up. They're doing new innovative things. They have Zano Bay where you could buy gift cards like Amazon gift cards, DoorDash gift cards and stuff using Zano without any type of intermediary, middleman, any type of bank or anything like that. So I think that's, although maybe not what people want to hear, I think that is probably the most consistent path forward as far as being intellectually and morally consistent with the principle of liberty.
The Trump administration, when they came in, they were very much aimed at, they very much rose to power based around the type of rhetoric that anarchists, libertarians, constitutionalists, right-wingers have been using for decades, going after globalists, fighting the deep state. Does it say something to you that at least the rhetoric of our movement, our liberty movement, was, I mean, in a sense, co-opted, but I mean, was a popular movement that brought Donald Trump to power in a way? Because, I mean, I supported Donald Trump, not just because of the rhetoric, but because of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who were much closer to my own ideas and ideology. But do you think it says something about the American people that at least the rhetoric of liberty to some extent was effective and popular in getting Donald Trump across the line? I mean, no one other presidential candidate, I mean, certainly Jeb Bush, I don't think Rand Paul even used the term deep state when he ran for president. I don't think I did when I ran for president. But I mean, did that give you any hope? What are your thoughts on Trump's MAGA populist movement?
I think our ideas are too important to ignore at this point. I think, again, we've been, at least the Ron Paul libertarians, we've been consistent with our messaging. We've seen technologies like Bitcoin kind of transpire into this beautiful technology, although it has its flaws. It seems like this permissionless money idea is taking off. And look, like they wouldn't have to be spending so much time and effort trying to censor us if these ideas weren't catching on, right? So I think there has been a lot of headway that's been moved in the right direction. Anarcho-capitalist president in Argentina, that's huge. Bitcoin's at 100,000 now plus, it keeps going up and down. Large multinational corporations like McDonald's are ditching DEI. I think there has been a lot of movement in our direction. I think we're still waiting on maybe those types of cult personality like Trump to really popularize and make it cool. Although I know we're giving our best try here, Austin, but I still think we might need somebody bigger and cooler and somebody to pick up the torch of liberty to really champion these ideas. No, Malay is a great start, but I think it's more of that populist movement, more of that cultural movement that we're going to have to shape and move forward. So,
do you see any danger in like when we talk about the far right? Do you see any danger in like the Groyper movement, the Nick Fuentes movement, the people who also sort of mirror some of our rhetoric, but would rather see the United States turn into something like an anti-libertarian ethno-state? Do you think that's just something that's very online, or do you think that that's something that's an actual legitimate political concern?
Well, they say like libertarianism is the pipeline to some of this like nationalism and eco-nationalism.
We've seen it. We've seen it happen. The Christopher
Oh, yeah.
Cantwells.
Oh, sure. I know. I know. We talked about him on my podcast. I have friends who are certainly talking in that direction and trying to, I guess, make sense of the arguments on that side. And I'm not going to say that they're void of logic because some of them do have logic. And hey, I'm right there. I'm trying to look at the statistics. I'm trying to look at the bigger picture as well. But at the same time, I think it kind of splinters us. I think the divide and conquer mechanisms will work through us in that sense. And I don't know how much it's truly going to benefit liberty at this point. I think we need to really push forward with the anti-state message, really continue pointing fingers at the government being the culprit and the problem to most of our issues, especially economically right now.
Yeah.
So
Fuentes actually said this in a video. He said that they are tracking everybody that criticized Israel, talking about Palantir, everybody that interacts with somebody that's criticizing Israel. And whether you're on a visa or not, whether you're a citizen or not, whether you're brown or not, Christian or Muslim, they're putting in the Palantir database. They're putting on the enemies list. If you don't see a problem with that, and then, out trails off there. But I guess if you are Nick Fuentes, if you are like a member of that more extreme ethno-nationalist right, if the critics of Israel, they probably have a good reason to be afraid, don't they?
Absolutely. And, he is good on some things. And again, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there that they are co-opting some of our movements, some of the things that we talk about, we focus on. But, I also have to call a spade a spade. I have to give respect where it's due. And he's been pretty effective, at least, in kind of opening up that conversation as far as the bigger picture with Israel. But he's right. There has been, I don't know if you happen to catch it, Austin, there was an article in The Intercept, I believe it was in February, that claimed that ICE had contracted private companies to use facial recognition to scrape social media for anti-Semitism speech and anybody just speaking broadly bad about ICE. So again, this is all kind of pointing towards like, well, what's this going to be used for? How is it going to be used against us in the future? And it could be the pro-Palestinian protesters right now and the immigrants right now. But I mean, at what point will this potentially be misused, especially by future administrations, if it's going to be another Democratic administration that wants to do even maybe something even more kind of worrisome with this. So a lot of problems here, most definitely.
It pays not to be an enemy of the state. It pays to just do what you're told, not question any narratives, buy product, and then wait to consume more product. Just don't ask questions. Shut up and sit down and don't fight back. Jason Bassler, you've been around fighting back as a journalist with the Free Thought Project for well over a decade now. I think I've been reading the Free Thought Project since 2008 or 9? How long have you guys been around?
2013, man, but I wish it was that long. Yeah, 15.
I was thinking back in my early Ron Paul days.
I think we were having those debates about chemtrails probably around 2015, Austin. So.
I thought that was with my natural news guys. I was debating chemtrails back there. I guess the Free Thought Project. It was okay. Yes, it was the GMO corn and foods and Monsanto with the Natural News guys, and the chemtrails with the Free Thought Project. But I appreciate what you're doing, Jason, because standing up for liberty, you should be able to criticize Israel in the United States. You should be able to boycott Israel without being put on a list. You should be able to criticize your government without being put on a list. And constitute, it may be legal from the standpoint of the code, but it's deeply unconstitutional in regards to our individual natural rights. Jason, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? Anything we've missed, or perhaps something you'd like to plug before we let you go today?
I know we only have a few minutes left. I mean, yeah, I would love for people to go to the Free Thought Project, check out our podcast. Like I said, Austin was on there last year. I love that conversation, man. I thought it was a good one. Love to have you back on. JasonBassler.com. We have just dropped our children's book, Know Your Rights children's book for kids 6 to 12 years old at littlefreethinkers.com or at jasonbassler.com. So check it out over there. And if you don't mind me plugging, just really quick, I'm actually working on a Know Your Rights seminar, an online seminar. So keep an eye out for that as well, guys. Another one of these things that we could do, obviously. And, I've been doing this for a long time, as you pointed out, Austin, especially within the police accountability sphere. And so another big thing that we need to do is to know our rights, apply our rights. People still don't even know you could opt out. All these things, the TSA at the airport. I mean, there's a lot that we still need to learn, especially in the liberty movement. So, check in jasonbassler.com for that, and should be finished shortly.
There you go. And if you're watching this as opposed to listening to it later, you'll be able to see his name spelled Bassler, just like the fish. Bassler, jasonbassler.com. Jason, thanks so much for your time, and we appreciate you very much. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much.